June the 7th, 2023, and it's a Wednesday. And since it's a Wednesday, it is at least for now. So, welcome. I welcome you to my humble abode, and I welcome you to the dawn, as the person that we're going to be talking about might say. For so long, it was the dawn is coming, the dawn is here, the dawn is soon. Then finally, welcome to the dawn. And sadly, it's been about 7 years. It's been 7 years or so since we had him as part of our musical lives, though he lives on forever through his contributions. So today is hashtag Wamble Wednesdays, which means I guess that means I am, and I am proud EP of Interludes Extra. You see me on Tuesdays, Interludes Extra Talk on Tuesdays with Val the Voice and Coach Tony. And then there's me, little old me. And then today on Wednesdays, most of the time, you will find me here. This is Interludes Extra, hashtag Wamble Wednesdays. I am Mr. Wamble. So welcome to hashtag Wamble Wednesdays. We're going to have a different kind of show today. I'm expecting some people to follow through. We'll see if they do pull up, haha, I should say. Um, but I do want to get us started today and to at least let you know this. So today is going to be one of my last Wednesdays, at least in consecutively for a bit. So I will be returning here in August. I'm in a period of transition, state of transition. So, as such, I know that I'm going to be focusing on a lot of different things. Some of the things you'll be able to see and possibly benefit from in terms of an audience, being things that I'll be able to bring you that I have not been able to up to this point. But I want to at least set that in motion, just to let you know that hashtag Wamble Wednesdays, we're going to be on a bit of a hiatus after today, and should be returning on the 16th, August 16th. So I'll be able to come back and talk to you about all the crazy things that happened over the summer. And in doing so, I'm sure that hopefully you'll be around, and then we'll have a lot of fun from there. Today is, as I mentioned, today is the 7th. It is June 7th. And for music fans like myself and other people, hip hop people, musical people, soul, R&B people, this is one of those days you just kind of know on the calendar. I know for a long time going to various schools and running into different people who like music, we would always talk about artists. And if you had this one artist in common, it's like, oh, you're a fan too? Okay. And you would immediately kind of go into this kind of back and forth, playful, welcoming, but always sort of a back and forth. It's like, oh, how much do you know? And ultimately, it would come down to the fact that, yeah, but when is his birthday? And most people would know. If you were a fan of this artist, you knew that June 7th was a special day. June 7th was a special day. June 7th, 1958, the world changed for the better. And we'll get to that in just a second. Again, just welcoming you in. This is hashtag Wamble Wednesdays. I am Mr. Wamble. Um, this is Interludes Extra, hashtag Wamble Wednesdays. Interludes Extra Talk on Tuesday will go in strong all throughout the summer months. You will hear from Val the Voice, our founder. You will be getting some updates and keeping abreast of all of the sports things going on from Coach Tony, who's been a wonderful addition to the Interludes family. And I will be taking just a step back to do some other things and to come back refreshed, strong, and maybe even better than ever. But this is our hashtag Wamble Wednesday, so we're going to go through our hashtag W's just to begin, as we mostly do each and every Wednesday. So we want to talk about wellness. Hashtag wellness. Wow. A lot of love for you guys. I've been watching you. Code orange, right? It's been code orange on the East Coast all day today, huh? And then we've been feeling it here too in the shy. Um, got my got my mask ready to go. Got my Paisley Park mask, of course, but got my mask on and ready to go because if you're out here anywhere east of the Mississippi, especially in my brothers and sisters in New York, my goodness, code orange. Open the window and it looks like Total Recall. The scenes of Total Recall with the double sons and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know Arnie's back on Netflix, but this is a little bit too much there. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, there are some uh, brilliant in terms of what they've been burning and how much smoke they've been releasing. But there's been some wildfires from Canada, and the smoke has been pushing down into, smoke knows no border. Okay. So it's been coming down into the US and it's been hitting really hard. A couple of weeks ago, in Chicago, we got some orange sunsets that were beautiful but kind of disturbing. And so now today, I know for a fact, briefly in New York, LaGuardia Airport was put on a ground stoppage, which turned into a ground delay, which is likely affecting most planes throughout the U.S. who have either originate in New York or have some connection, people flying to or from New York. It's bad, and it's supposed to push down into DC, into parts of Pennsylvania, Philly. So just do your best in terms of wellness. Those N95 masks that y'all were like laughing about, oh, we don't need these anymore. You might, okay, just for your own good. So the particulate of this smoke that's coming down from Canada is to a point where it's certainly so small in parts per million that you're able to, you don't want to, you're inhaling it when you breathe. So it's been setting out people's allergies. Those who have kind of respiratory or or have some kind of pre-existing conditions in terms of breathing, respiratory issues, inhaling. It's been bad. So please take care of yourselves. Don't worry about what other people do and worry about what you're doing. Make sure that you can breathe. Make sure that you are safe. In terms of other things that people have been recommending there, it's been keeping windows closed, not going out, not overexerting yourself. Now, truthfully, of course, some of these images are amazing. You would think that they were photoshopped or AI generated, but they're real of these orange skies and sunsets and such. But it is worrisome. My favorite sports team, the Chicago White Sox, were supposed to play the Yankees in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. That game was canceled because it's outdoors, and the air quality right now in the city of New York is so bad that they could not allow that game to happen. There was another game that was postponed, I believe, in Philadelphia. So just please, if wherever you're catching us or catching me right now, please make sure you're taking care of yourself. Um, we do worry, hashtag W worry, on this Wellness Wednesday. Even in Chicago and in and around the city, you can kind of smell. what they describe as almost like someone barbecuing or having a campfire nearby. It's in the air. It's not optimal, and you should make sure you're taking care of yourself. So that's our hashtag W for a hashtag Wellness Wednesday on this hashtag Wamble Wednesday. The other thing I want to talk to y'all about is hashtag wealth. In this area, what I can tell you is this. I'm not Jim Cramer. This is not CNBC all of a sudden. And as we always say, is for, for entertainment purposes only. But if ever a company has hit rock bottom, I think CNN hit rock bottom with the resignation or firing, whichever one you want to put it, of Chris Licht, who was a major idiot, who was placed in charge of CNN. This is the guy that fired Don Lemon. Not that though not a Don Lemon apologist, but he among the many stupid things he did was fire his talent, alienate himself, try to redefine what news was at an organization that had at least an idea about journalism and was practicing it at the time, despite their ratings. As a result, he made their ratings go down even lower, questioned people there, started a mutiny among the staff, and of course, all the time praised himself, patting himself on the back in the Atlantic article that came out within the last week, in which he threw everyone else under the bus and said that he was the greatest manager. Well, now he's unemployed. So here's the thing. If you were to look at Warner Brothers Discovery stock, this might be a good time to buy that. I'm just saying. I'm always big on media stocks, so that might be a good time to buy. They've hit rock bottom. Now, I'm not telling you that CNN is going to pull out of this just because they got rid of this idiot. They won't. He was a scapegoat. He's doing what he was told to do. They're going to put somebody in there who may try to do the exact same thing, but at a lower volume level and with lower visibility. It's not going to work. However, I don't think CNN can get lower than they are right now. The only way eventually is up for CNN and their parent company, Discovery Warner Brothers. Now, Discovery Warner Brothers has been making big efforts to pull themselves out of this nonsense they've thrown themselves into. What are they doing? They relaunched HBO Max to just be Max. Max, the one to watch. And when I was in California, when I was in Los Angeles, all throughout LAX, those are the major ads going, Max, the one to watch. You're seeing it everywhere right now. It's a blitz on. It seems as though someone has finally grabbed a hold of the entertainment section of Warner Brothers, which is Discovery Warner Brothers, and said, okay, this needs to make sense, and they're doing it. Now, that same person is also can be credited or derided for canceling a lot of DC stuff, which didn't make any sense. Too bad they couldn't cancel DC and stop that Shazam and Black Adam movie from coming out. Oh well, you live, you learn. So they're trying to kind of rebrand themselves as this one kind of voice of different styles of entertainment. They got the HGTV stuff, with the Magnolia, the Fixer Upper stuff. They've got kids from, Sesame Street to Bugs Bunny. And they've had action. And Warner Brothers were historically always the gangsters in terms of films. They were the people that kind of pushed the boundaries of what we saw in entertainment. And this is my smooth transitional segue because Warner Brothers on the musical side was the type of company that would look at a 19-year-old phenomenal musician and say, let's give this kid a chance. Okay. Here, Sign him to a deal. Sign him to a 3 record deal. You want creative control? Okay, we'll give you creative control. Whatever you want to do, we'll sit back. We're good. We believe in you as a company that has historically supported artists, especially artists that we think are geniuses. We'll roll with it, and they did. So this is my smooth transition. Did y'all see it? So anyway, so that meant that Warner Brothers, the recording arm of Discovery Warner Brothers, which owns CNN. If y'all kind of following here, okay. So back when it's the Warner Brothers on the musical side, in the to late 70s, they get solicited music from this area in the Midwest, from Minneapolis. So this kid, who likes to be called Skipper, this kid is a musical genius, pretty much. He's learned to play guitar. He's learned from his family. Stepfather gets him into more music. He has some kind of epilepsy, seizure sort of thing, and he tells a story about an angel coming to him, telling him it's gonna go away and just follow music. So that's what he eventually does. So he's born and raised in Minneapolis, right? At 19, at age 19, this kid from Minneapolis signs a record contract with Warner Brothers for 3 records for creative control. He gets the creative control as a part of this 3 record deal. Okay. So he puts out 3 albums. They are For You, his debut. It's followed by uh, a self titled album. And finally, the third one is a little record called Dirty Mind. Those were his first 3, his first 3 records with creative control. So the person that, of course, I'm talking to you about, whose birthday it is today, is Prince Rogers Nelson. On this day, June 7, 1958. Yeah, you like the purple. Uh, on this day, today, June 7, 1958, Prince Rogers Nelson entered into our world and changed it forever. I am a Prince fan. That's probably one of the things that people know about me. Even people that don't know me that well know that about me. My phone cover is purple. There's so many various things. And when I see people with purple, that's one of the things we kind of like give a head nod and look over. It's like, yeah, I assume that it's not because of Alice Walker, all right? Although that's a wonderful novel. Usually that purple is royalty, and that royalty has to do with Prince Rogers Nelson. Born today, June 7th, 1958. Of course, we lost Prince about 7 years ago, April 21st, 2016, of course, a horrible year in human history. We don't even need to elaborate on that, do we? So, Prince. What should you know about Prince? I'm going to give you a little bit of some numbers. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Prince. We'll probably have our guests come on around that time, at least one, if not 2 of our guests for today come through. So I want to just tell you about that. Me too, Val, the voice. Me too. I really do. And as the years go on, I know, it'll be, it's not like something I'm going to keep in mind every single year of every, you know, June 7th, I'll stop, though I might. I may not stop and talk to you about it, wonderful viewers, but it'll probably be in the back of my mind. And That may sound weird, but fans do weird things, okay? I've never worn a diaper for Prince, though I know that some fans of some musical artists did wear diapers over this past weekend in Chicago to see a certain singing giraffe. What? Anyway, so I am a fan, short for fanatic, for Prince. So I'm someone that grew up knowing when his birthday was. I would talk to my fans and my other Prince fans, and we would sing "Happy Birthday" to Prince, and we would like play his music or do things like that. Now, since he has passed away, it's become sort of more mainstream to celebrate him in that way. But we were doing this when the dude was alive, so yes, weird, absolutely. So Prince had a total of throughout his career at least about 40 studio albums, 5 live albums, as well as compilations like the ones when he came out with the number one songs and the A side and the B side and all that kind of stuff. So he had at least 40 studio albums. Of those 40 studio albums, at least 22 of the 40 sold at least a half a million copies, if not more. So, in terms of what were those best selling Prince albums, I want to just kind of roll you through there because it's a little bit surprising. I had to look this up just to make sure I knew what I was talking about because I like to do that. And when it came to his albums, in terms of sales, what I was told was that the number five best-selling Prince album was Emancipation. Now, Emancipation comes out in 1996. It's toward the end of his career. This is kind of like I don't know what the second or third incarnation of Prince once again. People have written him off, thought that he was no longer valid or relevant. He comes out with this triple CD connected to a tour. Goes on to Oprah. Oprah Winfrey still has a show then, and he just comes out and just slays. It's amazing. And at that point in time, people are like, oh my goodness, we forgot how much we love Prince. And Emancipation, famously, it's like too much, right? Even for fans like myself, when it came out, it's like, this is too much music. But it does what it's asked to do, and it really um, sends him into the next decade, the 2000s. This enables us to get to things like Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic, which famously Prince has a pay-per-view show at midnight of the year 1999 going into 2000, and that was a big hit, and it just shows the viability of this artist and how many people he influenced and how relevant he still was even if he wasn't out churning out number one songs. And he did. Even later in his career he did have huge hits. So that was his number five best-selling album, according to Billboard, and according to some other statistical keepers. So the other one that surprise, surprise, and I was just reminded of over the last 24 hours was this one, Batman. Prince, of course, if you were alive at the time, you know a few things. Number one, that Michael Keaton is Batman, as you are reminded in these recent Flash commercials. Michael Keaton is the one and only Batman. And the Michael Keaton movie, the first one that establishes him as Batman, Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale, and Jack Nicholson as the Joker, had a little soundtrack by Warner Brothers' premier artist, Prince. So Prince sort of is the in-house guy. When Warner Brothers says, like, we've got Batman, what are we gonna do with it? We need a soundtrack. Who do we turn to? Of course they turn to Prince. Prince is gold. Even if he can't make hits, he is certainly someone who had success with movie soundtracks. And we'll get to what his most famous movie soundtrack in a few. So Prince famously makes an instrumental song called Bat Dance, creates this video, which at the time was a commercial for the movie. It's so popular. It goes to number one, has really no lyrics to the song, only samples of it. And you see a Prince in this video where he is both Batman and the Joker split, and at that point, you begin to see that Prince is this artist. He is the artist. He's not just Prince. He is whoever he chooses to be. He is fluid. He is malleable and he is ready to dance. And Party Man goes to number one. Batman soundtrack goes to number one and stays there for many, many weeks. Becomes one of the biggest things of that year. And the symbol, that first symbol that people associate Prince is not the Prince symbol, it is the bat signal. So Batman certainly. Yeah, so Party Man was a wonderful jam on the Batman soundtrack. Electric Chair, where you get this imagery of an electric chair years before you get Death Row Records or anything like that. Prince had this ability to kind of take things and turn them into something. And famously, he's linked to Kim Basinger. Yeah, Michael Keaton's the star of the movie. Jack Nicholson's a big Hollywood star, but Prince somehow takes all of the oxygen in the room and it becomes all about Prince, because why wouldn't it? So that's his number four best selling album, according to studio albums. Number three is Around the World in a Day. And Around the World in a Day kind of gets forgotten. It's known as kind of the follow up. It's the next thing that people can buy after certainly his magnum opus, is one of his at least financial masterpieces. Around the World in a Day is a brilliant album. It is awesome. And in terms of what he creates, about the it's in the middle of about five records that Prince makes that begins to change music for the better and begins to be copied by artists, not only R&B artists, pop artists, but rock artists. So many other people began to turn to Prince and say, "Look at what he's been able to do. Look at this creative control that he's being given through Warner Brothers, and the way that he's been able to establish himself." So, of course, Around the World in a Day gives you Raspberry Beret. Um, it gives you so many different styles. It gives you Paisley Park. And probably more importantly than any of the other songs on there, Paisley Park, outside of Raspberry Beret, becomes a way that Prince defines himself. He takes that title and uses that title to be the name of his own home studio, his own freestanding studio in Minnesota, Chanhassen, Minnesota, right outside of Minneapolis. And to this day, it is this kind of almost museum and a tourist spot for all things Prince in Minneapolis. A couple years ago, I got to go to Paisley Park. You can take a tour. There are various levels. Paisley Park is famously the place where he filmed some of his later videos that you may remember with cars and parking lots. That's in the bottom part of Paisley Park. There is a sound stage there where part of Sign of the Times is filmed. All of the memorabilia is there in Paisley Park, and Paisley Park is one a song on Around the World in a Day, and also becomes the his own personal label with Warner Brothers. So Prince begins to record Paisley Park slash Warner Brothers from this point on for many years to come. Some of the other songs, Tambourine is on there. I know that Prince fans like Chris Rock has used Tambourine as a title from one of his creative projects. Around the World in a Day is there. This is the album that people begin to associate with Prince's love of the Beatles. So you would get this kind of the visual of the album cover is very reminiscent to some of the Beatles' work, like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and you see all these various people. So once again, this is Mr. Wamble. This is Interludes Extra hashtag Wamble Wednesdays. We're talking about Prince because number one, it's his birthday, and number two, of course, his birthday is part of Black Music Month. You can hear more about Black Music Month through Interludes Extra, through Taco Tuesday with Val the Voice and Coach Tony throughout the month of June. So we counted down some of them. I mentioned Emancipation, which is one of those records that kind of gets forgotten at times. It comes later on in Prince's career. It is a bestseller. The curiosity factor, also the idea that Prince is still relevant, is something that people really gravitate to. He releases the soundtrack to Batman 1989. Moving forward, certainly Around the World in a Day, which followed up one of his biggest works, um, sells quite well, does well in terms of charts. This is a point in which MTV has fully embraced Prince. So some of these songs are songs that don't really necessarily chart on radio, but they create these videos, and he becomes kind of this visual rock artist, someone who is known as giving great live shows and these kind of visual statements. Prior to all that, there was 1999, which was on a game show recently as a question about albums that came out that had certain titles of years in them. Well, 1999 doesn't come out in 1999. It comes out all the way in 1982 to kind of set up the Orwellian idea of what would the world be like in 17 years. Of course, 17 years, 17 is a very important number for Prince, 17 years. Famous song 17 Days by Prince. So 1999 comes out in 1982. It is amazing. It is here. I'll take it out for a second. It is the shirt that I'm wearing. This is the 1999 shirt. So Prince, 1982, 1999. So many of those really recognizable Prince songs, things that you've heard on the radio, come out of 1999. But 1999 is this album that is an anti nuclear war uh, statement. And it has this relevancy, it has this bouncy beat to it, but it also kind of shows how Prince can mix politics and his worldview in with his dance music and still hit an audience. Maybe it's not as blatant as a work like Nena, the German singer Nena's 99 Red Balloons, which is also an anti-war song. But this one does the job. It stays with us and it kind of remains. And I think in that way, it's quite relevant. So 1999 gives us 1999. It also gives us this opportunity for Prince to sing about something, to come back 17 years later and sing the song 1999 right as the world is going into 2000, in which, if you were old enough, you remember some folks thought planes were gonna fall from the sky and the world was gonna end. So it had this kind of um relevancy with Prince, who's always this kind of apocalyptic sort of the world is coming to an end, dance and be hedonistic or live up life, carpe diem kind of spirit to his music, and it mixed with everything else. Now you know what number one is. Everybody knows what Prince's best-selling album is of all time, of course. It's a little thing called Purple Rain. 1984. Officially, officially, it sells. It's in the range of 13 times platinum, which is kind of ridiculous. So you would think platinum is a million, but really, once you get to 13 times platinum, you're talking about sales in well over 20 million. Okay. So Purple Rain is his best selling work. It's how we identify Prince with purple still. And this is just based off of sales. So this isn't even my preference, your preference, anything else. This is just sales, period. So Prince is able to do this. He breaks through. Now, I want to just rewind real quickly because I told you this guy signs his first record contract at age 19, which he does. So his first release comes in 78. Purple Rain hits theaters in 84. Okay. Yeah. Think about that. This guy signs his record contract in 78. Okay. 77 to 78. So that means within a period of about 5 years, he convinces, aligns himself, gets a movie made about his life, kind of, sort of, and the whole musical scene of Minneapolis. I mean, leading into Purple Rain, Prince was a star, but he wasn't that big of a star. The fact that he was able to do that through Warner Brothers, and you notice I am giving them props, okay? Of course, famously later in Prince's life, he writes slave on his face and he hates Warner Brothers and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, if you do follow the story, you know that he ends up having a distribution deal with them. It works out here. Without them, we don't get this artist. So I give them credit for that. One of the best performances, I would have to agree, with that idea from Val the Voice, that Purple Rain, when it was performed at the Super Bowl, Miami, in the rain, through a rainstorm, is amazing. February 4th, 2007 is when it happens. Um, it's a thing of beauty. It's one of those kind of performances that lives on forever. And so does Prince in a way. His music lives on forever. Um, just 3 years prior to that Super Bowl appearance, where Prince performs, starts out with "We Will Rock You" with Queen, and just kind of gets the crowd into a frenzy before going into some of his own songs. So he goes starts with Freddie Mercury, Queen, Prince, right? Prince, of course, in 2004 releases Musicology, which is one of his um, really big records. It's in it kind of does two different things. So, short on that. Musicology comes out in 2004. Prince goes on tour. He understands that that the album sales game has changed. People aren't buying albums the way they do, but they do want to see Prince live. So what he manages to do is this: you buy a ticket to see me, I will give you my album as part of your ticket purchase. So every ticket that gets sold is an album sold. Bam. All of a sudden, Prince has the number one album in the countries in which he is touring, including the United States. And it's done to the part in which Billboard, SoundScan, Live Nation, all of these entities is like, can you do that? Is that legal? Well, it could be done because it was done because Prince did it. Prince was a musical genius, but he was also a business genius and marketing genius. And he was able to parlay his audience that wanted to see him live into an audience that was now buying CDs at a point in which the world was beginning to move away from physical CD purchases to digital downloads. And Prince was always set up for that too. He had his own website. He had MPG, New Power Generation, a music club. He was someone who was saw far ahead into what was going to happen and how it would happen and how it would change, how technology would improve things in terms of music. So 2004, he comes in. 2004, Prince comes in and he does musicology. Musicology comes out, great album, wonderful. That same year, he is inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004. Now, in terms of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's probably not even one of his best times or associations with him. It's later on when George Harrison is inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Prince plays a guitar solo of "As My Guitar Gently Weeps," which still is one of the most viewed live performances on YouTube. So I just wanted to share with you some of my thoughts about Prince, kind of give you some information about Prince. Prince is certainly an artist that I love. So to have this last show before going on hiatus to kind of talk about Prince is pretty special. Um, before we welcome and before I meet the dawn. So I love that. So I want to now welcome in our special guest for today to talk about interludes, to talk about the audio and Black Music Month. And here she is, the one, the only Val the Voice Johnson. Well,
Hey, Michael, how are you?
good. How are you? It's a beautiful day out. Just be careful. I mean, this is a day not to be in New York, huh? You'd have a
It
have a you'd have an orange sky back there, like a orange screen. My goodness,
pretty much.
have you seen any of those images?
I have, and I've been hearing from friends of mine there in New York, and they've been telling me what's been happening, and then they're complaining, saying, "Canada, stop sending that goofy down to us." I don't know if Canada is responsible for the
No,
haze,
it
but
is. Yeah, yeah. No, it's the smoke. So there's a wildfires throughout Canada, Alberta, and that smoke is coming down the northern border into the U.S. I mean, hey,
oh,
if you go send us some maple syrup, okay?
it might be tainted. We may not want it.
Well, you know what? I expect your maple syrup to have some smoky flavor over the next couple of years.
Oh
So,
my
Val, the
God,
place we were talking about Prince, and I certainly know that you are a major Prince fan. It's something that we have shared and something we've held in common over the years. What are some of your thoughts today? This certainly is Prince's birthday. I would say it would have been, but it is. It's forever his birthday.
Hmm.
It's the day
Forever
that
is
he
his
entered this world, into the world. What are some of your thoughts about Prince on today?
Well, one thing is that I've just always been a fan, and to celebrate his birthday, and I think it's no coincidence that his birthday is in what we celebrate as June being Black Music Month. For
Absolutely.
someone who gave us such a rich catalog of music, popular and unpopular, with there's too many albums. I would have never have narrowed it down to the five that you have. I understand the top one that you picked, which was Purple Rain, and I
Yeah,
noticed that
that's
the
just by
vast
sales.
majority
That's just by
of
sales.
sales. I get that.
Yeah. Hmm.
But if I was to name an album that was the most impactful, that I loved the most, and it was probably because my grandmother had passed away around the time of its release, was the Under the Cherry Moon soundtrack for Prince.
Mm,
And that love that song. Sometimes it shows in April. Mountains. I remember purchasing like the long 10-minute version of that. Just, you
yeah.
know, 3 minutes of singing, and then the rest is just instruments and jamming. And I would have loved to have witnessed and seen kind of a jam session with Prince, because he was at the heart of everything. He was a true musician. He loved music. He was someone who learned how to play multiple instruments, especially for his first album, because he played all of them on his first album. And just the way he would nurture other musicians and produce and kind of be that, we don't really know who's the star company. All the other aliases that he came up under. And then, of course, we're grateful. I'm grateful he fired Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, because that made them start, and they are one of the best producing teams of all time to produce. I want to say hundreds of hits throughout the 80s and 90s. We got rid of them, but they ended up doing so much better.
Well, and if he hadn't done that, there wouldn't be an interludes, right? If we when we tell
Exactly.
the story about why this platform is called interludes, it's called
Hmm.
interludes going back to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and you all can check that out. Val the Voice has talked about that before. It's there in the library for
Right.
interludes. One of the first episodes we put together, right? Was the
Exactly.
definition and go went into
Hmm.
Jam and Lewis and what they mean and what they were able to produce.
Yeah. And so all I have to say, definitely regarding Prince, he is forever remembered. He passed away a day before my birthday in 2016, so I'm always going to remember that. And I was ironically home where I was able to access my record album. And a lot of people say, "Oh, Under the Cherry Moon is a horrible film," but I love that film. To me, it's like a comedy. Watching him and Jerome kind of go back and forth, and then seeing him do some other things. And then Purple Rain was more of a serious music film, because that was reflected much of his life
Right,
as
right.
a musician.
And sorry, I'm gonna geek out, fan out. So the name of the album is actually called Parade.
Parade.
Music from or inspired by Under the Cherry Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is this split that Prince has
Oh,
with
he
the
sure did.
music that's in the movie and
Mm-hmm.
then some of the other songs and he kind of blends it together and you
Mm-hmm.
produce things like you said America, which I have as one of my top Prince songs. That When You Were Mine, Sign of the Times.
Oh
Uh,
my God.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's some songs that he made that the song, the brilliance of just that one song, not even the album or a
Mm-hmm.
video or anything like that. It's just that you hear that song and like when you
Mm-hmm.
were mine, Cyndi Lauper
Yeah.
famously and others have recorded that, have covered that.
Mm-hmm.
If that was your girlfriend, TLC, best-selling female group of all time, um, I believe still, they covered that. So
Mm-hmm.
there's these songs, and you're talking about Under the Cherry Moon, not necessarily commercially loved, but for fans like you and I, that was awesome, right?
Oh my gosh. And just the artwork. I love the music videos at the time that came out, the black and white videos from Under the Cherry Moon. And I think Mountains was actually in color. But it depends on who streamed it or
Mix.
who
It was a
really did it.
mix. Yeah.
It was a
Yeah,
mix, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
exactly. But I was a huge fan of also Sign of the Times because that was a great concert film. A lot of people forget about that, but then we see Sheila E., we see Sheena Easton, we kind of get introduced to other characters, especially
Glover.
Glover, like all of these wonderful and talented musicians that I think Rosie came later when he did the New Power Generation, but I'm just telling he's a musician's musician, so he gets it. And again, I could easily see him going into rehearsal, going, okay, let's hit it again. Okay, let's hit it again. Till we get it
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, and in the songs you were talking about the Star Company, what he did
Star
in terms
Company.
of what he wrote. I mean, the idea that Manic Monday was originally a Vanity Six song before
Realize.
it goes to the Bengals. I mean, somewhere
Mhm,
floating around, they're trying uh to go into that. So there's a
mhm,
question that came up. It says, "Are you guys going to talk about him changing his name to a symbol because of how the industry robs artists?" I,
wow.
I, t- I touched on that a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
he
We
does.
could go
He
back
did do that.
go back to the Emancipation, that album that was one of your top five. Emancipation
Right.
was kind of the start of him. No, that was after. Emancipation was after the symbol, was it? Am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah. He uses the symbol for emancipation. Um,
Hmm.
it, he he does that, but at the same time, what you got to look back and this is why history is so important. Hear
Hmm.
everything that he was saying at the time, but look at what he was doing. He was at one end kind of chiding Warner Brothers for what they were doing to him and what they were
Hmm.
doing to artists, and advocated successfully for artists. People like Taylor Swift have inherited and been able to do what they've been able to do because of Prince, because of his advocacy for the creative artist over the big record company. But at the same time, Prince started his own music club. He was selling his own things online. I mean, it was amazing. So what he was able to do was figure out that as an artist, I am a brand. And as a brand, this is how
Right.
I should market myself. And how do
Hmm.
I get to my audience? If
Right.
this record company can help me get to my audience, great. But if they are detrimental in my pursuit of getting my music out, then I'm going to go around them. And he did.
He did. He sure did. And that was something that he was teaching. I noticed in the 2000s and even years just before his death, he literally would have more. He started to do more interviews and talk a little bit more candidly. A wonderful interview with him and Tavis Smiley. That's him
Hmm.
really breaking down exactly what happened during that time. And I know that's floating around on in the internet universe. But yes, you see the later interviews with Prince, and he really breaks down exactly all that he went through with Warner Brothers, and just really trying to warn other artists coming alongside and coming up after him that please own your masters,
Right. Yes. Own your masters.
own
Taylor
your
Swift.
masters.
Right. Own your
Hmm.
masters. That's why that child keeps re-recording all of her songs so she can
Hmm.
eventually own them as masters.
Hmm.
That's when Russell Wilson, bless his heart, he buys his wife her masters as a gift, right? Because you have control of it.
Hmm.
Now the other thing that he does, he does the kind of own your masters, but he also is he's someone who really pushes for artistic freedom and to
Mm-hmm.
be yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
artists today talk to and point to Prince as someone who have helped them in their own journeys. Now, one of the ones I want to name drop before we begin to wrap things up, and before you give us the great news for today, is Lizzo. A lot of
Ooh.
people don't know that story, but Lizzo is who she is today. Her
Mm-hmm.
whole orbit of fame, well deserved, because of Prince. Prince sees Lizzo in Minnesota, becomes one of her early advocates, pushes her, gets her in front of cameras, and gives her and helps to instill in her confidence that she can succeed and she is all that.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And what a wonderful situation she's been able to grow and blossom as an artist. And I didn't know she played the flute, Michael. I'm
Well,
just
yeah,
thinking.
but with Prince, and she's comes to him as a musician initially, so it's her musical skill. That's the thing that he recognizes in her. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and of course,
Okay.
subscribe to the Interludes YouTube channel, right? You should know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should know that already. But yeah, so I mean, so you could go back to people like Lady Gaga and to all the way to Lizzo and pretty much everybody in between has had some kind of spark from Prince or been inspired by Prince, either musically on that side or the business side.
Exactly, exactly. That's
So
that's
it's
what's
it, it's
important.
Black Music Month, but and I know you're going to be getting to that all month long,
Mm-hmm.
June. But we also had a pretty awesome show last night,
We
right?
did. Yeah, we
We
sure
did
did.
with
And
our Talk on Tuesdays with Val the Voice and Coach Tony, and
mhm.
there it is.
Black Market is the latest audio episode. We turned our Talk on Tuesdays episode interview that we had with Coach Tony's special guest, Merle Code, and had this now be the audio podcast. What he talked about was very, very important, and I was very moved by all that he did, which was very, very important. Like, I didn't understand, unfortunately, how you you're a young man and you're playing basketball and you want to get into the NBA. But how you get there, a lot of times it's through college and it's through the NCAA and other uh, leagues as well. And it's just to hear about some of the crazy that happens at that level. It's a black market, literally. And I was very moved by his story. You'll hear about it. And as Coach came to us, and he let us know that this was one of the first places that Merle Cole came to be in.
Yeah, after coming out, after his he had to serve time in prison. There's no other way to
I
say it.
know.
Now, for most of us, today is one of those days, and throughout this weekend, we're doing one thing, but we got one eye on the NBA Finals, or we listen to the NBA Finals, which are tied up right
Yeah.
now, literally tied up. At the end of the first quarter, it's 24-24. Denver and Miami are tied, one game apiece. And for some people, they can't believe that a team that's set up like Denver, that dominated throughout the whole of the regular season and steamrolled through the playoffs by sweeping the Lakers. How in the world are they having trouble with the Miami Heat? If you want to know, listen to this episode, Black Market. It explains to you why the Miami Heat are successful right now, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe why, for entertainment purposes, you might want to throw them a little bit, because
Mm-hmm.
those players are
Mm-hmm.
not the scrubs you think they are. Okay, uh, Merle Code in this book, Black Market, which he talks about in our episode that's available for download right now. He talks to Val the Voice. He talks to Coach Tony about it. He breaks down where these players come from, how they get to where they are, why there is such a narrow space for the so-called top players, but why right below there's this kind of bubbling uh, market of amazing talent that you just haven't heard of, but he
Hmm.
knows and he
Hmm.
shares it with us.
Yeah. So go ahead and download the latest episode, Black Market. It's our latest episode, The Business of Basketball. I wanted to type that in, but I want to do something very, very quick. But go ahead and download the latest episode and let us know what you think about it. And if you'd like to see the entirety of the episode Talk on Tuesdays, it's available on our Interludes YouTube channel.
Yeah, so we got it in, and we got it in different places for you. I would check out the audio. The audio first.
Hmm.
It kind of streamlined. It kind of gets you right there, and especially, I mean, that's something you could listen to while even you're watching the playoffs tonight
Yeah,
and throughout this time.
yeah.
So
And your
somebody
predict
telling us that Denver doesn't play defense, but Miami has the best coach. The coaching is part of it, but they got
yes,
talent out there. There
it's
is
yes,
real
they do.
talent, and that's
Yes,
what
we're talking.
Merrill Cole told us. There's talent out there.
And your prediction for the NBA Finals? Who's going to be the
Well,
winner?
well, well. Coach Tony told us, so many months ago that the Nuggets were going to win the finals, and who am I to contradict him except Mr. Wamble? I do contradict him. I got the heat. I
You
got the
have
heat.
the
I got the Heat in six.
oh,
Coach Tony's got the Nuggets, so I would lean Coach Tony. What do I know? I'm only right most of the time.
well, Michael, all I know is that this is going to be a fun series. I'm going to actually go back in visiting friends, and so check out a little bit of the game. What is it? The first and second quarter. It's in the second
It's
quarter
still in
right
the
now.
first, just hitting into the just
Second
going into
quarter.
the second quarter. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
But
so
it's a tight game. It's gonna be a tight series. And how tight will it be? Find out. Check out Black Market, the latest audio episodes from Interludes. Found the voice. It's been great. You and I will be in touch. Other people won't see it. That's fine. But we'll be in touch throughout this summer.
yeah.
But I do appreciate everything that the opportunity to have an audience and to talk to people. And thank you. And certainly, I'm always here for you.
And I wanted to say thank you very much as I'm writing this podcasting book about how to find your voice. I have a dedication to you in that book that says that you were the best accountability creative partner for this venture. I thought about doing interludes back in 2013 while I was still in New York. And this actually came to fruition because you put my feet to the fire and said, let's go and let's be consistent. So thank you for
You are certainly welcome, and let's continue to move forward. Okay.
it.
So, Val the Voice, thank you for being our special guest tonight. We're talking about so much in this month of June. Check out the latest audio episode of Interludes. It's called Black Market, the business of basketball. It'll be available there for download. Val, have a great summer. I will
You
see you
too.
in August. All right.
Woo-hoo.
This is hashtag Wamble Wednesday. Peace.